So I want to talk about conditioning, repetitive strain, and the lack of it really in the boxing, and particularly the BKB. I've never seen one clip of any BKB fighter conditioning their knuckles. Now, I've heard of a lot of BKB fighters breaking their knuckles, but the conditioning can make a massive difference, and it can make the difference between having a broken hand and not having a broken hand. And that could be massive, especially when it comes to training. You don't have to have the time off, you don't have to wait for repair, you don't have to suffer with the issues that you get. Now, some people will say, I've got weak hands, my hands always break. I'm going to say there's no such thing as weak hands, but there is such thing as unconditioned hands. Everybody's got weak hands to start with. So by conditioning your hands, you condition the bones, the tendons, the tissues, everything to be able to take the force that you're impacting with. Now, one of the biggest issues, when I show you the knuckle here, for a basic boxing punch, this part of the knuckle is what hits most. And a lot of the time, if you don't condition your hands and you just start punching and you start boxing, then what happens is you're damaging the surface. Now, if I've got big padded gloves and I'm hitting a soft bag, then what I'm doing is I'm really only damaging the surface of the skin. And what happens is you get a build up of scar tissue that builds right up and causes you a lot of problems, and it'll cause you issues for the rest of your life if you keep punching. So what you want to do is slowly build up that by conditioning. Now, there's several ways to condition. Now, what the difference is, if I was hitting to start with, you need to do it bare knuckle. Now, this is a Kime bag. Sometimes these are filled with like ball bearings and things like that. Now, I've got kiln dried sand in it. Kiln dried sand is the best stuff for conditioning your hands. Whether you put it in a little maize bag or you put it in a little pad like this, it's perfect for conditioning your hands. Now, there's two ways to hit a pad like this. One is with a snap, and that's how most of the time you'll hit a punch bag and stuff like that. The other way to condition it is you hit it and you leave it on. Now, the important thing is you never split the skin. Never do it enough so you damage the skin. You're not conditioning the skin, you're conditioning the tendons, the muscles, the bones underneath. So you start off slowly, little pad, and just tap it gently. Rinse and repeat. So the more you condition your hands like this, the harder your hands will get and the less issues you'll have. You'll condition everything through your hand, so you won't get a big bulbous knuckle or a real bad scar tissue that just makes your life hell when you're trying to punch. You'll get strong hands and you'll significantly reduce the chance of breaking your hand. So now, if I'm hitting a punch bag, what you want is this is a really, really hard bag. I wouldn't punch it full out just because all the force comes straight back at me. But if I was conditioning, then what I'd do was I'd just stand close and again, just tap it gently. Now, what happens, and particularly with water bags, when you do it with water bags are one of the best bags for conditioning your hands, just like the kiln dried sand. What I found when I first got a water bag was, because I've done a lot of conditioning in my hands, but when I got a water bag, at first I noticed my hands were hurting. It wasn't my arms or anything, it was my hands, and that's because with a water bag, the initial shock is right on the surface and it's brilliant for strengthening your hands. But if you've got big gloves on, you're not going to get the benefits. So let's look at other pads. Now, with a a basic mitt, they're usually too light. Unless you've got weight in it and it's a bit heavier, I've refilled this, then again this can be used for conditioning. There's a hole in that one. We'll just use this one. So again, all I'm doing, now if I was doing it kinetically, I wouldn't be on this side, I'd be on this side. But this is for the basic boxing punch at the moment. So all I'm doing, again, is tapping. Now I can do this in a car, I can take that sandbag with me everywhere, and if I'm in a queue or anything like that, or I'm waiting for something, I can just sit there, tapping the bag. Now when I first started this, what I noticed was lots of pain in the surface, in the skin. And again, you don't want to get really badly bruised. You don't want to continue if you've got bruised knuckles. What happens is if you've got bruised knuckles and you go punching and you just keep bruising them, you build up the scar tissue and you'll have loads of issues. So again, a heavier pad, harder pad, and again you're just tapping it gentle. So you just do it repetitively, do 100 a time or whatever you do, but never take the skin off the knuckles because it'll take ages to heal. And it's all about conditioning what's inside. Now the more you do, the harder you'll be able to hit without any issues. Now if I look at my left hand, I haven't got any things on, but if I just tap it, I don't get any issues at all with pain, with wrist pain, anything like that, basically because I've conditioned my hands and I'm in the right position. Even when I'm hitting with a boxing style punch and I'm coming down on the outside of the knuckle, it's still not a big issue. But what you do find is, particularly with the boxing punch, sometimes you impact the lower knuckles and that's how you get a boxer's fracture. So the other way to avoid, sometimes when people have real bad issues and they can't continue to punch with this part of the knuckle, with a kinetic punch I'm hitting with a different part of the knuckle. This is a part of the knuckles that don't land normally in a boxing punch unless you know the wrist position and you're changing the point of impact. So what happens then is from this position I'm going to this position, and this position is a different part of the hand. So if you do have issues and your connective tissue and your damage just becomes too much on this part of the knuckle, you can switch over to hitting kinetically and it's on a different part, so it's not going to give you an issue. So other ways of what you can do, I'm going to use a stick for now, but what you can do is if you've got little weights, in fact I've got a little weight here. If you've got little weights and they don't have to be, they're not heavy, they want to be quite light. And the thing is, when you're waiting for your hands to heal, you don't want to be punching anything, you don't want to be impacting anything because you'll only make the condition worse on your knuckles. But what you can do, if you get a weight, this is just a little knife, but something weighty, just doesn't have to be, not heavy enough so you're lifting it with your shoulder, just so you can bounce it out. And then what I can do is I can bounce out the punches, I can practice the punches and actually throw them and feel that snap with the weight shooting forward in my hand. I'll link up to the punching with weights so you can see what I mean. So basically, if you don't condition your hands, you'll have weaker hands, you'll have weaker bones, and you're significantly improving the chances of breaking your hands when you fight, basically. The other thing that conditioning does is it teaches you exactly where to land the part of the knuckle so it doesn't hurt you. And the more you understand that, the more your speed gets faster, distance is better, timing is better. So you get massive benefits from the conditioning. But you don't if you don't do it. And I've not seen any clips of any BKB guys or boxers conditioning the hands, and it's a massive benefit. So I've heard of quite a few guys that have had issues with the knuckles, and it tends to be the main knuckle because that's where all the force goes with a boxing punch. And some people can just have a nightmare with it because it gets that much, it's always swollen, they get that much scar tissue on it, and that's because they haven't conditioned properly to start with. If you have got problems with your knuckles, let them rest. Stop hitting things, and that's hard. That's why I like the weights, because it's like I'm hitting something. I can throw proper punches with the snap, but I'm not impacting on my knuckles, so it gives it a chance to heal. So there's a few tips on conditioning, and if you want to get in touch with me, I'll explain more to you, but conditioning will make a massive difference to the punching that you're doing, and particularly the safety of your hands, which is number one. You know, if you're a professional and you're getting paid for your work, then you don't want to damage your hands, and this is the key to doing it.